The Evolution Security Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Evolution Security Podcast. This is Aaron Davis and my bro, Eric Davis. We are here for another Gear and Mindset episode. And the way we kind of put it, we're just going to do a jam session just like we jammed when we were 15 years old, cranking up the guitar amps and banging on the drums, you know.
In the background, yep.
So as we spoke before we got on here, man, let's just have a jam session and talk about some stuff on our minds. You know, once again, bro, it's fun to get to hang out with you on this format. And it's so awesome that we've got people that support and listen to us that, you know, when we feel like they just come along and hang out with us, you know, because one of the biggest blessings on this show is us doing this together.
Well, absolutely. Go ahead.
And speaking of, we don't implore our audience to do this very much, but I'll tell you, more and more, we need. We've grown really quick in the last few years, but to be frank, we've kind of gotten to an area where we know we should be growing more, and we don't know if we're being throttled in a way. We can talk about that later, but I can tell you this, something that will help us is ratings. Going on iTunes and giving us ratings and reviews. The review helps other listeners know that we have a show that's worth your time and worth their time. And it helps us if you've got any constructive criticism. We love to hear it. So please go out on iTunes. If you listen to podcasts on iTunes, and even if you don't, go on there and give us a rating and a review. We would really appreciate it. And I still want to implore you, there are great podcasts. We have lots of favorite podcasts ourselves. Go out and give your other favorite podcast a review and a rating too. Most people that do podcasts are in this because we love information. We love helping people. We love teaching. We love learning ourselves. So just help everybody out that you get good quality information and entertainment from. So that's all I got to say, bro. What you up to?
Well, man, you know, we did just get to hang out for, what was it? I mean, I guess it was a full week. And man,
we did.
What an incredible time. We'll hit on that here in a second, but something more important right this minute is I want to extend an extreme congratulations. I mean, you sent me a picture just a couple of nights ago where I was like, what? You know? I want to congratulate you on your being promoted to your blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, man. Congrats. That's huge.
Man, thank you very much. You know, first off, I want to say maybe it's a bigger deal, and I want to ask you about this. Maybe it's a bigger deal than I am even allowing myself to feel. Now, I'm not talking about from a prideful or I'm just so far in it sense, but it just, lots of people have reached out to me that we really respect and listeners, et cetera, that have given me some heartfelt congratulations. So it again, maybe I just underestimated exactly what it is. And so real quick, and let's talk about that in a second, but we still haven't talked much about when I sent you that picture. So what was your real reaction again?
Well, at first
just interesting.
When I first got the text, I was hanging out with Jana on the couch and So at first, it was hard for me to tell because all you did was shoot me a picture, and it took me a second. But
Yeah, I was being coy, I
yeah,
guess.
coy certainly, and then I had to look real close because what originally came to my eyes is I saw your combatives belt, right?
Hmm.
And then it took me a second to realize that your instructor is his name Robert.
Yes, Robert.
Shout out to Robert.
Yeah, he's a great
I,
guy.
so he was just
A really good instructor. I love the guy.
so it was just the fact.
Actually, his name. Just let me be clear. His name is Robert Davenport who is the black belt and owner of Gracie's Tulsa here.
Okay, good. Yeah, I wasn't. Number one, I didn't know his last name, and I also didn't know if it was cool to say it over the air. But I think he deserves that. He deserves recognition for his
Man,
hard work.
he has got a great school, and I'll tell you, I love how inviting they are to families. I know all jiu-jitsu gyms are very inviting, but I feel kind of like their gym is even more so because of the way they design their curriculum. It's a different market. They're not going after snake eating 25-year-old beasts. They want some of those people too, but it's just gathering people into the jiu-jitsu fold, which is such an amazing community and amazing for everybody's lives to get involved. My family started at that school about 6 years ago, I guess, and I've seen that school quadruple in size. Did you go to some of the classes, some of the either the combatives classes or even the master cycle classes that I go to? Man, there'll be freaking 30 people in that class. That's a big jujitsu class.
Yeah, certainly.
I certainly didn't
Go ahead.
intend to go off so much on that, but it's fun to talk about.
It's a blast, and Aaron, it is a big deal. And so, depending on what information you look at and who you talk to, I can say from multiple sources that I can average this out fairly easily. Is that 90% of people that walk through the door at a jiu-jitsu gym are not going to get a blue belt. So, a lot of folks say that 10% will get it. Well, I'd rather say, because in my opinion, the levity of it is that 90% won't get a blue belt. And so it is a big deal. And for the audience that may not know, it takes around 1 to 2 years most of the time. And I'm just going to go out on a limb that is a decently quick time, especially a year.
Yeah, that'd be someone that was going 5 days a week.
Yeah, and it absolutely does happen, especially if somebody has a wrestling background. They usually progress faster if they can humble themselves and into the jiu-jitsu. And please, I love wrestling. I'm so glad to be learning wrestling to a higher extent now, and in my older age, we love wrestling. It is one of the most important bases. But for the most part, folks that come into the door, it's only about 10% that will actually get their blue belt. So it is a big deal, Aaron.
And that's what I was thinking you would allude to. And I'll be frank, I don't know exactly how long it's taken me. I will say it's taken me at least 4.5 years.
And Aaron, there's a lot of people it takes them that long.
Well, and it's like, so this is a good opportunity to bring up a good friend of mine. His name's Tim. He's one of our instructors and one of our brown belts. And he reached out to me. It means a lot when people reach out to you personally to give you some congratulations on a goal met. And so it was nice hearing from him. And he said something really interesting because I alluded to, hey, it took a while, health issues and COVID and just life. I didn't get it real quick, and sometimes sometimes I feel embarrassed about that. But then he shot back this text, and let's see what he said here. He says, I have way more respect for people who stay with it and make slow, consistent progress because they have an actual life outside of BJJ than the ones who can train 5 days a week and rush through it. It demonstrates one of BJJ's greatest skills, patience.
Very well said. Very well said.
I thought that was really cool, and that was encouraging. But I'll tell you, getting promoted at this point kind of lights a fire under me, to be frank, a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to getting on that mat with that blue belt on again.
Yeah.
So
awesome. So proud of you, man. It made my year seeing that.
Wow.
For certain, man. Just like when Nick got promoted to blue belt, it made my year back then, and no different from when I saw those pictures come in. And I have to mention, Cecil Birch, that is, for folks in the audience. A lot of folks know him. He's a mentor of ours, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well. Very storied under the both his own brand, Immediate Action Combatives, and also under the Shivworks collective. So we really respect Cecil a lot, and he's a good friend. He's definitely become a good friend. And so
most certainly.
And so he congratulated you, which I know that was really cool. It was cool to me to see him reach out as well. And but I couldn't help but laugh because he said, well, but don't spend 12 years at it, meaning blue belt, like your brother.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. And you're friends with Cecil when he gives you a hard time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was funny.
Well, and he may have been rounding up, but it was actually 11 years.
Okay. Well, we accountants round up, so I'll say 12.
Yeah, and I sit there and laugh at myself. There's no real difference between 11 and 12 years when you really look at it for blue belt. But yes, that was a cool jab from somebody I respect. It made me laugh out loud. I was actually at my day job, and Aaron, he kind of he instilled in us maybe something we've never done. He's got us starting a wager, right?
Yeah, he did, and if people could read our minds, I have never, ever, ever felt competitive towards you.
Same here.
Never. I mean, I just hope people can hear what I'm saying and take it exactly what I'm saying, because it's the truth. But so yeah, what he said, okay, now you guys need to see who gets their next belt first. And he goes, I think it deserves a wager. Mm-hmm. And he said we need to, see who gets there first, and whoever wins gets a dinner of their choice, paid for by the other guy. And that sounds kind of fun.
It does, bro. And it, like anything else, kind of like what Scott Jedlinski said on our episode. It aired today. Really, really good show. Even with our technical difficulties caused by my end, of course, your awesome editing made it seem seamless. He talked about that competition element, even just amongst your friends, and I thought that was a really excellent way to encourage competition, and maybe it's in that same light. And if anything else, it's almost like affirmation statements, which you kind of mentioned too, is how that stuff drives us. And And so obviously, and I sit there and Cecil, I'm sure that he'll hear this. So of course my next belt will be brown belt. Yours would be purple. To my understanding, and again, Cecil can slap me through the air here, or it's usually about the same amount of time.
But to progress through those two promotions.
Yeah, so for you to go from blue to purple and myself to purple, from purple to brown, just from my experience, I've seen it take about the same amount of time. And I'll be straight with you. I've seen purple to brown happen quicker for some people. It may have something to do with that. Once folks get to purple, I've seen statistics that it's more likely that they'll keep going. But I've also seen statistics that there may be a lower percentage of blue that make purple. I don't know if that's true or not, and really I would like Cecil to comment on that too. But I've also heard the basic adage that it seems to be this 90% step of every rank is only at 90%. Excuse me, let me correct myself. That only 10% of that rank will likely. That's like the basic adage, but I've also seen that maybe a little less end up going from blue to purple. So I don't know if that's true.
But it makes logical sense, right?
So bottom line, I think that Cecil caused us maybe hitting that wager up. We got a minute, we got time, but it also means that we can't sit on our laurels and coast. I know I definitely can't spend the amount of time I did at blue. And I'm encouraged. Simply, I told you this recently that is a huge goal of mine is to work towards my brown. I won't stop. But yeah, man, let's give it a whirl, bro. Let's see about that steak dinner. Yep.
Yeah. And the sky's the limit, man. See, we'll have to fly someplace. When we talk about a dinner of our choice, I think that means whatever city we want to.
Bro, I think that's...
You may have to eat. I'll tell you right now, we're going to be flying to Portland and going to Hops Urban Brewery. That's my dinner, dude.
That sounds fun.
Where do you want? And then we'll see. Now, so what would your choice be? Because I got to see what kind of plane ticket I got to buy.
Man, see, now you one up me, so I have to one up you. Man, you never been to Thailand.
Dude, that's serious.
That's serious.
So what are we going to, Bangkok?
Yeah, never mind. I was going to say a joke there, but Thailand's awesome. That's a cool place. Maybe there, or the only downside is I think through international travel or even travel to freaking Hawaii, someplace like that for some badass sushi. Because that's another thing, man. Best sushi I've had has been in Hawaii. I know we got some thinking, man.
Well, thanks. Okay, Cecil, thanks a lot. You just cost us a lot of money. One of us.
Or an excuse. To do something really cool. And bring our wives along, of course. So, yeah, man, cool.
No, we can't bring our wives if we go to Thailand, bro.
Don't give me stuff.
Sorry, honey. That was a joke. Okay. So, man, let's talk about this class that we got to teach together.
Yeah, man. It was epic is probably a word that's overused and maybe a little bit trite now, maybe a little bit outdated. But, man, it's hard to describe it without saying something like that. It was awesome. And I had a blast. And for the audience out there likely has heard us say this, you and I have not taught any classes together since we started this venture, and of course beforehand. And so it is a pretty big deal. And I'll also say it was the first time we combined two of our classes. I had taught our combatives 8-hour class multiple times, and both of us had taught our 8-hour pistol curriculum, and we decided, hey, we really feel our role, and we've talked a lot about this recently about being either gateway or, to use Scott Jedelinski's term, the feeder instructor, because we believe in, we're not at all trying to emulate or try to wedge into market of others that are our mentors. Number one, we can't do it. Number two, that's not what we're interested in. But what we most assuredly are interested in is feeding people to those classes that otherwise may not take those classes. And I'll just describe it now. This course was our EvoSec defensive pistol and combatives with weapons integration. So it's 2 8-hour courses combined into a 16-hour course. Now, Aaron, you'd agree we had to change the curriculum for it to work correctly.
Oh, and we were improving, especially day 2. Okay, bro, what can we strike for today?
Yeah, because I know I was ambitious in trying to go 8-hour by 8-hour, and we had 2 different venues. So again, it doesn't embarrass me to say to our audience members that this is a newer venture for us, especially this class. But I'm super encouraged by it, because I believe, number one, by the feedback that we got from our friends and clients in the class, that, I mean, they raved about the class. I mean, the AAR was awesome. They also gave us constructive criticism that was worth.
Oh, yeah.
Every time we do courses, we take feedback and we use it to improve. But bottom line, I just felt really encouraged, because to back off and describe it again, we believe that we are trying to offer a solid baseline, yet fundamental, yet can help anybody of all levels with their pistol platform, a dynamic shooting platform from concealment, right? So that's the foundation, to include adding the thumb pectoral index that we gained from Craig Douglas. We absolutely include that in there, but that's only 5-10% of the class. The rest of it is fundamental shooting. The other aspect is that it's combatives that support the weapons integration, and we've amalgamated a lot of material, some of it our own take, and especially some material that we've gotten from our mentors. Of course, Craig, Cecil, Paul Sharp, Cliff Byerly.
Yeah.
So we've amalgamated all that, and then our own take on some of the aspects, and I think it melded into a solid class. And I think I'll just use one of our buddies, Matt. I won't say his last name. He kind of refused to do jiu-jitsu, and his other buddy, Matt, who was our host, he had trouble trying to get him to do jiu-jitsu, and man, he kicked butt in the class, and I mean, he looked really good in the combatives.
Mm-hmm.
That was one example that really stuck out to me. Krista, man, seeing her perform, it was just so cool, and having Graham, my nephew, in the class was phenomenal. He kicked butt, man. He shot a 90, and I think at 92, which is the goal of the final evolution in the shooting portion, and so I mean, it was so much a mirror, if I can say, Aaron, of how I saw Nick, my son, perform in ECQC, and it was just so cool, man. I blabbered on, man. Your thoughts on some of it?
Well, I'll just say echoing that one thing real quick. Yeah, it was a blast having Graham in there, and I was real proud. I expected him to do fairly well on the combative stuff because he has quite a bit of experience in jiu-jitsu himself. But what I was most impressed or excited about was how well he did in the shooting, because he doesn't have a lot of shooting experience and definitely has never taken a class like this. Man, I just loved seeing how deliberate he was with all the safety issues. One of the most important things to see in one of these classes is safe reholstering.
Bingo. Yeah.
And he was just on top of that, and so much so that I thought I might feel like I needed to watch him a lot because he's my son. Didn't want anything to happen, right? But man, when I just saw how on the money he was with his safety, I was able to focus on the other students like I really should have. But Eric, here's what I want to say, and hopefully doesn't come off as braggadocious, because see, I'm about to talk about you, because so we've been in different states for the past how long, Eric?
So I joined the Army in 2000, 2001.
So
we're talking 20, 21 years total that we've been separated.
So for that time, we have only just in the last couple of years, because of this venture, gotten to spend quite a bit of time together during the year.
Yep.
But I'm taking it back to, so you taught me private Thai boxing lessons, and that was 26 years ago, probably at least 25.
Oh yeah.
But and this was literally my reaction to this. I had never seen you teach that much material, and dude, I was blown away. I just can't say it any other way, because thank God, I've got to train under, in my opinion, the best instructors that this country and world has to offer when it comes to this path that we're in. Dude, I felt like I was taking one of those classes, being able to watch you teach the combatives material. There's absolutely no way I could have done that on my own. I mean, it would just been a no-go. So watching you do that, I really, really enjoyed it. That's one of the fun things about taking a great class for me, being a newer instructor and being a training junkie. I love witnessing great instructors. Man, that's what I was seeing in you. And then your extemporaneous, instruction of the material and how you explained it. It was just really impressive, man. I was real proud of you. So that's my AAR.
Well, man, I tell you, you make me a little bit emotional because it means a lot to me coming from you. And to be frank with you, I don't think about things that way. And although, yes, I've taught martial arts for 30 years, doing this venture is still fairly new. And it does mean a lot to me, and it's very humbling, and I really appreciate that. But I have to return the same on you again. This is the first time we've done this, and I was so very impressed with your instruction and how well you presented the material, and you and I just bounced off each other. And I hope this doesn't come off as that wasn't at all part of this plan, Aaron. And I certainly didn't.
Mm-mm.
I certainly didn't pay Aaron to say those nice, kind words.
No, that was my plan to give you some kudos, man. I snuck that up on you.
Well, I appreciate that, and my response to that is that if we didn't have the mentors that we have had, then we because a lot of what we do, if not the majority, is how we've learned to teach and learned material and how to do things our own way as well, is from giants that are our mentors. So man, that's humbling, and I appreciate it, bro. That it was a lot of fun, man. I mean, and I'll put it this way, um, after we had long hours, and again, that's one of the things we learned, that we can't cover as much material in that type of setting. And
Mhm.
so there's a little trimming going on, as I've been tweaking some of it, but none of the content is going to be sacrificed. Just a few time hacks that, and I'm just going to use that word I hear Craig talk about all the time. And, and so as we progress, and I really hope, I really hope this becomes our main class. I do. I think if folks are interested, I think that the main objective is to give people a solid, dynamic shooting platform from the holster and a combatives background dealing with weapons, that they can then move on to our mentors courses, and yeah, and not just do well, but learn easier. And more importantly, if folks are out there that we purposely used cert pistols, not UTM or Sims, which we have access to that equipment. We're authorized under UTM, but we're not interested in pushing that right now for ourselves, because I think it's more I think it's more important for us to get people that may be reticent to join those courses, to see it's not a big deal. And frankly, I'm going to be honest with you, it's so cool seeing those evolutions that, I mean, and there's a highlight video we put, which doesn't do justice because for some reason we had no footage of the stand-up Evos, which started with managing unknown contacts and then went to a stand-up clinch to weapons access. So we have no footage of that on it. So unfortunately, half of the Evos were not represented. But man, Aaron, would you agree that all the students of varying degrees of experience, some with a lot of experience in, Matt, Chris, shout out to Chris Hyde, I'm gonna say his name. Man, what an awesome friend, and
Yes.
kicked butt in the class, and Matt, the instructor of
CKA.
CK, excuse me, and with him being in there, and Krista, being one of their instructors as well. They have black belts in other systems, and then having people that are maybe a little bit, amped up on an Evo. Man, didn't everybody keep to the rules, which was to keep it
Mhm.
lighter? But then they
Yeah.
still were able to use their skill sets that they had or didn't have and brought to the table. Man, I was impressed with that.
Well, and I want to say this too for other people that are wanting to get into this training. Either they've got the skills that they can pass this information on to people, or they want to start training it. The feedback of being able to watch these matchups with our students with the cert guns, plenty of feedback. You've got the click from the trigger. You see where those hits are, and you can call it and say, "Hey, one." I think Krista, she capped some dude in the back of the head.
Yep. Yeah. And to that point,
Just good
yeah,
feedback
yeah, and I'll
with that
say this, and
system.
I'll ask you if you saw this too. And really, the Evos, we only had two Evos. Yes, everybody went twice in, so four Evos. End of the day. Excuse me, we did midday on Sunday, and then the end of the evening on Sunday. The other thing that I saw, Aaron, is I also saw that amped, even though they didn't was not. We didn't have people get unsafe, right? But I still saw in most everybody's eyes that, hey, man, folks got a little nervous, and like the pressure. And I knew this a long time ago because when I ran the CQS classes at my gym for 3 years in Washington, when we would do just blue gun evos, the same thing happened. So I think that's the most important takeaway is as much as we love Sims and we love UTM, you can get a close facsimile, pardon. If just using the blue guns, better yet is the SIRT pistols. So yeah, man, I really we knew it would be that way, but it was an even better representation when we did it. So yeah, man, I think we've probably belabored that long enough. Bottom line, and let me back up a second, because the pistol shooting was also awesome, and one of the things that I noticed is that we were real deliberate about the draw stroke, and we did it in reverse like we had learned from Mike Brown, and which is the way we've taught the draw stroke from the get-go in EvoSec. And I think it was just happenstance, Aaron, that making sure that we covered the thumb pectoral index firing position, only a primer to that, but we did it, by the book, by the numbers as Craig taught us. I think adding that after the initial draw stroke work caused people to be even more safer with their deliberate reholstering. And man, it just was synergistic, man. I was pretty pumped about it.
And remember, we had one student, man, John, shout out to you, buddy. Good old friend. I've known that guy for more than 30 years. And it's probably been 28 years since I've seen him. And him showing up to that class, it was so great to see him. Remember when we first started doing that, he just straight up goes, man, I thought that was pretty dang sketchy. Yeah. He thought we were... At first, he was like, dude, what the heck are these guys showing me here? And then I think he said that he kind of wrangled himself back and said, hey, I trust these guys. I know they know what they're doing. So if they're teaching me this, there's a reason, and they know how to do this safely. So,
and the reality is that portion of what we do from Craig's curriculum, we do a primer version, and we do it by the numbers to where it's extremely safe. And we're watching over. We do it in relays too, so that we can see each and every person. So yeah, man, great stuff. Well, man, I tell you, I think that's enough about the class. A lot of fun. And by the way,
and
go ahead.
I will say this: the plan is for us to try and offer a 2-day class that is you and I getting together here in Tulsa. And with our partners at CKA, do that. Try and do it about once every quarter. So that is the current plan right now.
Absolutely, and I'll leave a little hint. We might be doing some little mini conference. We'll see where that goes. But they have an awesome facility out there that could facilitate a really cool mini conference that folks would enjoy. And so, yeah, and I would say this, man, what great people at that gym, Matt, Krista, Chris, and man, they have a phenomenal gym there, man. That I was impressed with that gym. And by the way, I'm going to say this because we're going to have Matt on and talk about his ministry. I mean, they do a lot of awesome things for our law enforcement, for a lot of people that we really want to support. And we're going to talk more about that in the future because I know we've got listeners. We got listeners around the world. and we got quite a bit of folks that would likely support them. We're going to push support their way because, man, they're giving scholarships to police officers to get training. They're giving training away. And I think deep down in my heart, I think through this venture that we're probably going to be giving away more training as well. You know, we'll see where all of that goes, but yeah, I'm pretty pumped about it.
Yes. Well, Eric, I will say this too, as I'm noticing we like to have our carbines around, and during a podcast, it's no different. So I've got my rattle can
Cool.
BCM behind me, and I see your pistol back there. We are planning. We're hoping to do a carbine class this year too.
Yep.
So that's something that people might be interested in too.
Yeah, we've got some solid carbine curriculum that will be really good for our clients in that area and anyone else interested. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, cool.
I want to take the class. I just want you to teach it, and I'll take the class from you.
Man,
I can cool. AI, bro, but I haven't taken a carbine class in a while, so I think I want to take it.
Awesome. Sounds cool.
Well, bro, I did want to bring up one thing, and we're talking about, so this is our gear and mindset episode, and I'm being quiet for a reason you'll hear. We had an awesome guest, Nick Delgadillo from Starting Strength, and I feel bad, bro, that you told me everything that Nick told me, but for some reason, just the three of us on the line, it hit me that just like whenever I've made changes in my life, I can feel the instant where it finally grabs me and that I'm going to do it. So for Christmas, I today ordered a whole new, a whole garage gym setup with your help.
Rock and roll. Yeah.
And so I'm going to have a lot of the same. Now I didn't go rogue. I'm just going to say that that's a little too rich for my garage gym, but I'm getting a lot of the similar gear to what you have, and you know it's going to be a blast learning from my sons because they're such good power lifters, and it's just going to be a blast.
Well, Aaron, I have to remind you, didn't you get a free version from Nick? Yeah. So, man, this is phenomenal. What awesome gifts we get sometimes from our buddies on this path, and another person pumped about, and I don't know if you noticed that or not, but he put on his story, your promotion, and yeah. So cool. He said I put it on our stories as well, where he said, so awesome to see my homies, get promoted, or however he said it. And so, yeah, man, bro, this is all the information you need and the gear that you have, man. Man, I tell you, I'm as pumped about that as I am your blue belt, frankly, because man, strength, especially, as we grow older, and I'll say this on the air, your wife Becky, my sister-in-law, who I really, really enjoy, had a great time with her over this last week. She sent me a text thanking me for helping you guys pick out that gear, and we had a little text conversation about the value of strength, especially as we get older. So, man, I'm pumped for you, Aaron. It's going to change you just like jiu-jitsu. It really, really will. And Aaron, it's not that you haven't worked out. It's that you have not had, number one, the gear, and put forth the time to capitalize on actual real strength.
Yeah.
And so what's going to happen is that close to 50, you're definitely classified as a novice. But you know what happens at a novice level?
Major gains.
Very fast linear change. So, of course, doing it safe and whatnot. And so that book plus some of the videos that Mark Ripito has done with several folks we respect, bro. Yeah, that's all you need, man. That's all you need.
Well, and I wanted to say again on the mindset and encouraging our listeners to make a change like that too, if they have not, because Nick alluded to it, and specifically bring it back to what our awesome guest Larry Lindemann said on his episode with us, that it's not, you don't want to focus on lifespan, but your health span.
Yep.
And working on your strength, getting, resistance on your joints and your ligaments is going to help extend your health span. That just means a lot to me. I think that's pretty profound, and that just has to be highlighted.
Well, Aaron, I'm gonna add on to that, and I think I have the correct person, Dr. D'Agostino. Somebody that I've learned a ton from, on the keto diet side and some of the other side of fitness that I really respect. He said it this way. He said that he would rather live a shorter lifespan, but then just really have an awesome life, an awesome health span, and then just go, rather than have this long lifespan that does this, right?
Yeah, just a slow decline because you're not strong enough. You start becoming frail.
Yep.
And spend 20 years living, but in pain, having problems, etc., because you haven't maintained that strength in your body. Boy, I don't want to come off as preaching like I know what I'm talking about. I am acknowledging what I haven't really done before. Now, people that have been long listeners, think back to when you've heard our accountabilities and you recall me talking about not being much into strength training. We've been talking about that for freaking 3.5 years. How long the show is, I'd have to look at the calendar, but I'm really just coming to Jesus on this.
Yeah, man, it's going to be huge for you, brother, and you get to share it with your sons and your wife. Becky said she's wanting to get into it. I think she'll just benefit from that for her jiu-jitsu as well. So, yeah, very cool, man. Well, man, I think we're starting to, as far as the time frame that we're looking to get here, maybe we hit on a couple of not so fun topics, but I think it's worth talking about real quick. Let's talk about our sponsor, Origin. Pete Roberts was told you could not make jiu-jitsu gis in the U.S. Well, Pete and his team have proven the naysayers wrong by producing the best jiu-jitsu gis on the market. I, for one, love my Path gi. It is lightweight, yet strong and super comfortable, with an innovative technical fiber weave that is also IBJJF legal. The Wave logo is legit. It has woven belts that blend between white, blue, purple, brown, and black, hence the name The Path. They also produce jeans, hoodies, handmade leather boots, and Jocko fuel supplements that help us recover from hard workouts, force on force classes, and simply make us feel better and more energized through the day. I just finished a hard workout in my garage gym and rewarded myself with a delicious mint chocolate milk protein shake and coconut milk. Man, it's like dessert. If you're looking for any Origin products, please go to our show notes and click on the affiliate link, or look for the icons in our blog section of our website at evosec.org. It helps us keep this podcast free and keeps the lights on. If you get something out of this show and you feel like helping us out, use EvoSec 10 for 10% off at checkout. Well, see, I want to know, I'm sure that you've heard this by now. Let's see if I can get this up here. Hold on a second. Okay, so that's not working.
Are you going high tech on the audio
No,
there, bro?
I wouldn't say it's high tech at all.
It has the idea of first red flag laws in the state of Delaware and my son both.
Okay, hold tight.
And it made a lot of difference to save lives. So that's number one. Number two, the idea we still allow semi-automatic weapons to be purchased is sick. It's just sick. It has no social redeeming value. Zero, none. Not a single solitary rationale for it except profit for the gun manufacturer.
Can you do anything about gun laws during a lame duck?
So, Aaron, I don't know how well you could hear that,
Oh yeah, heard it perfect.
but
And of course, I've seen that footage too.
yeah, so essentially, and I haven't heard them try to deny it, so that just makes it even more solidifying in my mind is that
Yeah, you're bringing up a good point, bro.
it is that he said exactly what he meant, and I'll just add this, probably on Adderall. I'm being a little bit mean, but I don't care, because when I hear Biden speak about semi-automatic weapons, he's not delineating between assault weapons. He's saying semi-automatic weapons, right? So he says that he believes it's sick that we still allow those weapons. So first off, let's just talk about that. Number one, he has no abilities to allow anything related to the Second Amendment. It's codified already in the Second Amendment. And so to me, when I hear him, and being frank, I get tired of hearing that I get tired of hearing Biden speak about stuff like that, because it's clear, number one, deep down inside, he just does not believe in the Second Amendment. He doesn't believe that we should be able to own weapons. But what I find really full of hubris is that he is sitting there saying that he doesn't believe that that we should be able to have semi-automatic weapons, as he's surrounded with individuals that are armed with semi-automatic pistols and ARs, if possibly full auto ARs. And he knows that. He knows that, right? So,
Well, he's part of the ruling elite, and it's not just him.
yeah,
It's hundreds of people in Washington, and then other mayors and governors in other states. But
I go ahead. I just think that
I want you to finish your thoughts on it before I interject.
I think the main point to be made is that this is him speaking off the cuff, and when you hear him speak this way, he's pretty lucid, which I really believe it's because he's got an Adderall hit and whatever medications they have him on. It's a lucid moment. I'm not even going to give him the benefit of the doubt that it's just him, in his more senile age, which is also proven. But anyway, I think that it's exactly what his thoughts are. He doesn't believe that citizens should be able to have semi-automatic weapons. So what does that say to us? It says that you go ahead.
Yeah, that I'm not supposed to have this Glock anymore.
Yep.
Or basic. Right now, almost every major firearm
Yep.
in this that is sold in this country is semi-automatic. So what he's now, Eric, I want to state this. This was my thought. Like you said, you feel that he was lucid when he said that. My first thoughts were he's misspeaking about semi-automatic versus assault weapons like they like.
I
to
had that
use.
thought as well.
But
But at the same
You-
time,
you-
Aaron, he also says assault weapons so often
yeah,
that I think that I really believe, Aaron, that he said what he meant to say.
well, and two things
And if
that
and if
kinda-
he didn't, then I most assuredly analyzed that. I thought, what if all he is trying to say is that he's talking about assault weapons? And this is after, Aaron, by the way, that the shooting happened with the pistol, right?
yeah.
So
Then maybe they told him because we know he's got people steering him into what he's going to talk about. Maybe at that point they said we need to quote. You know how politicians and their handlers like say we need to pivot. Did they decide they were going to pivot to semi-automatic? I don't know, but you made a good point, and I'm going to be very clear. We aren't experts on body language, and we can't read his mind. We aren't behind the scenes, but we are just observing this and making our opinions known and analyzing it from our point of view. That doesn't mean we're 100% correct in this. We're having a conversation about this, but you made a really good point that they haven't tried to back up on that term.
Yep.
They haven't tried to walk it back. And if it was, and another point to that is if it was just a Freudian slip, wouldn't he correct himself? Instead, he said it multiple times. I'm offended by being told that the weapon, the firearms that I choose, let's just say, leave out that AR-15 back there, that this pistol that I can carry is, I'm sick for having this, bro. I'm sick. It's sick that I'm allowed, like you said, allowed to have this. That's infuriating.
Yeah. Well, and all the while, and if it's so sick in his mind, why has he not dismissed all of his Secret Service in this? Let's just say it this way: has he not told them, "Hey, leave your semi-automatic pistols and especially your ARs"?
If there's no social redeeming aspect to them.
Yeah. So Aaron, on that note, there's a story that came out in multiple outlets, and I specifically chose the Axios Seattle because and I really don't know this. It's probably at a minimum left leaning out of Seattle, but all that said is that the University of Washington found that in the years between 2015 and 2019, that the amount of people that carried firearms or pistols specifically concealed has doubled. So
Wow.
So I'll submit to you this, Aaron. Would you not agree that if in that time frame of double the amount of people carrying firearms in just a 4-year period, which is in recent time, I would add, wouldn't you think that if there was an appreciable number of illegal use of those firearms in concealed carry holders' hands, that we would definitely know, right?
Most certainly. And like Kathy Hochul, and forgive me Eric, if I'm saying that wrong, but I'm talking about the governor of New York that just won re-election.
Sure.
When her and the other New York politicians talk about the danger of citizens being able to carry guns, that's laughable for one thing. But again, if it was like she states and other politicians state that it's more dangerous with more civilians carrying, if there's double that, we're talking millions of people.
Yeah, Aaron, the number is 3 million carrying to 6 million. And I think that number's low, to be honest.
I think it is too.
But
it is too.
Just by their numbers that they found in a study that it doubled at least. So yeah, go ahead with your thought.
Well, if there was a causal relationship, the problems would have doubled, right? So I know that.
And Aaron, you could guarantee if there was an increase in the use illegally with concealed carry permit holders, or if it even be especially in constitutional carry states, you guarantee that would be recorded and it would be all over the media. So,
yeah, where are those stories?
Yes, because it hadn't happened. But what has happened is that there's been an increase in murder of 30% by the FBI UCR stats in 2020. And we should, and on the air, I'm going to admit to being ignorant, I don't think we've seen the 2021 UCR stats yet. I may be wrong on that, or some of them have been released. So we'll follow up on that. But yeah, the bottom line is that those committing murder are not concealed carry holders. It is not.
It's just, again, that's another very offensive thing, to conflate murderous predators with citizens that want to carry a gun to protect themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, that pisses me off.
It does me too, man.
So, and I'm going to state this again. It's unfortunate that we do have to focus on these politicians that are on the left, or just frankly Democrats. In this country, we unfortunately have two choices. One leans towards our freedoms, leans towards protecting our freedoms, and the other side, Democrats, lean away from it. Some are straight up want to control your lives. And now, are there Democrats that are great and you vote for them because you believe in what they believe in? That is 100% true. But unfortunately, when they make it to Congress or their assemblies in your state, they are going to be nearly forced to vote with leadership. And leadership 100% hates our right to carry to keep and bear our arms. How it's not that difficult to understand that. So again, sorry, I'm going to say sorry this time that we have to talk like this. And if we offend people, it's just a fact.
Yeah. And Aaron, I'm going to say this, and I'm just going to introduce the audience. I may have brought him up here. This is, yes, I have a.
Hey, Brody.
One of my favorite dogs, if not my favorite dog I've ever had, Brody.
He's one of my favorite dogs I've ever had. Even though I've only seen him a few times, he's amazing.
Yeah. So, I always tell this story that, we had a German Shepherd, we had a mixed breed dog, and I said I'd never have a pug, but this boy's I love this dog dearly. He's a little bit.
He's one of your best friends, isn't he?
Absolutely. So Aaron, one of the things that I'll bring up kind of coincides with this is that we had we had the defund police, all this this increase in firearms ownership, especially handgun ownership of 7.5 million between 2019 and 2021, right? Well,
And don't let me forget to make a major point on that again. So keep going.
so obviously there's all kinds of causation that we can talk about, but we can most assuredly talk about the defund the police movement. You know, of course, the George Floyd riots of 2020, COVID 2020, 2021, and of course we just hit on this, the crimes skyrocketing, right? And just the general feeling of our population feeling like, man, I don't know what the future holds. I need to arm myself. And so I think, you know, just that 7.5 million additional gun owners during that period alone says a lot. You know, and man, it's an economic equation, is it not, Aaron?
It is, and Eric, before we go much further, I believe I've talked about this before, but it goes right along with these last few years, right, that you're talking about, increasing gun ownership. At my range, I used to be able to go in there, and there were a few bays taken up. Every single time I go to that range now, it is 4 times as busy as it was 3.5 years ago. And let me tell you, and it is very encouraging, most of the new people in there are minorities.
Awesome.
And I love seeing it. And there's families in there that are, you can tell they're going there to rent guns, or they just got a firearm and they're going to the range for the first time as a family. They have to borrow ear protection and eye protection and buy targets. Dude, that's awesome that they're getting started. And you know, it's a freedom that in the last 3 years that people realized that it was important to them, because they all realized that they were on their own for multiple reasons.
You are your own first responder, to use a common used phrase.
Well, if a police officer is at the entrance to my neighborhood and they sped, it would take them 1.5 to 2 minutes to get to my house. So, and that would be a miracle, right? Any self-defense situation, people kicking the door, it is seconds long. I know I'm sorry if we're belaboring this, and we have a very astute audience, thank God. But this stuff just has to be in our brains. We have to articulate this and put a fine point on. Here's what I wanted to say. Just like this country is completely different than it was 100 years ago. Do you think people 100 years ago thought we would be going through a lot of stuff that we are going through from a freedom standpoint, from a economy, central planning issue, taxes,
big tech censorship?
Oh man, that's another topic that we need to talk about. Probably not enough.
Yeah,
time to
which
talk
I've
about.
got on my notes here, but yeah, we're not going to hit on that tonight. We've already went past the time frame.
I just really want to put a fine point on this. We cannot assume that this country will be the same as it is right now, even though we've had so much more control over our lives in the last decade. We can't assume it's going to be this free and we're talking about for our kids and our grandkids and our great grandkids, future generations. Will they be able to protect themselves when seconds count? Police are only minutes away. I know that's a cliche, but That's a fact.
I'd call that nearly an axiom. You know,
It is, isn't it? Well, Eric, I'm not putting conjecture out here as fact, and I'm not following slippery slope logic here. But just bear with me. I really don't know the answer to this. I am asking a question to you. I'm thinking it through. This is something I don't know the answer to. But if Congress finally passes, quote, an assault weapons ban, and let's say it evolves, which is what they want to do, is outright make it illegal to own, not just grandfather, right? But let's say it gets to that point, or even the assault weapons ban that they're trying to put through now. Let's take it back there. And more than likely, it's going to be ruled unconstitutional. We can at least have some comfort in that. But Eric, what recourse can be taken against the executive branch, which they execute and enforce law, right? The executive is who enforces law,
or currently make law in violation of Article 1.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead.
Well,
Sorry,
but
I'm being a little bit, I don't know, flippant, and a little bit truculent, I suppose. Go ahead.
Yeah. My point being, again, I'm asking this question: what recourse is there against an executive and Congress if they are ruled unconstitutional and they start enforcing an unconstitutional law? We know for sure that the Department of Justice, the FBI, they have right in front of our faces proven that they subvert and get around law if it's inconvenient for their political purposes, right? What recourse, Eric, is there if they start enforcing an unconstitutional firearms ban?
You know, that's a tough question to answer.
I mean, is it impeachment? Is that can then lead to prison time, or just simply remove people from office and they realize that they want to stay in power, so they're not going to do it? I mean, what is the recourse? Because we've never seen anything like that serious, right?
Not to the extent that we're starting to see now. I think ultimately our founding fathers believed in the ultimate reason for the Second Amendment. I don't think we're there yet, but we still have that recourse. Now, I will tell you that I want to emphasize we are not there yet, but I also believe that, and this is kind of part and parcel with the contrarian ideals and opinions that can be espoused on what is in fact where most people communicate is on social media. Whether or not those social media and also the mainstream legacy media want to admit that is where ideas are exchanged. Well, we are in a time where those ideas, and contrarian, especially from a conservative standpoint, is suppressed, and where we weren't going to get too far down this road
with involvement from the FBI.
Absolutely. FBI, DOJ, Department of Homeland Security, all have actively worked with big tech to suppress that information. And I tell you, man, it's very, very frustrating to say the least. It's infuriating and scary at the most. I mean, this is
well.
Go ahead.
If anyone can observe the largest communication companies in the world and think that they are not supporting, or I don't know why it would be. Maybe it's because they feel that status and central control politicians are going to side with them at some point. But it is, by and large, it's not even debatable that these big tech companies are working on behalf of leftists and Democrats.
Well, Aaron, Elon Musk said, I think even released today, that he's releasing information of actual, real, to use the left's term, collusion between big tech and, for lack of a better term, the Democrat Party to interfere with elections recently. So
if my point being, if you can sit here in this reality and watch what's going on and not admit that, let's just say 80% of these companies and literal monopolies on communication, that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Monopolistic control over information. And they are, and let's not even say, Eric, that it's leftists and Democrats. It's on behalf of the ruling class and government.
Yep.
That's a fact. That is inarguable. So, and then we probably need to get off here. We've said enough, but
we have a lot more to talk on this, Aaron. I mean, I would leave you with this as we close out, is that it's very telling when Biden himself says that, yeah, it's worth investigating the purchase of Twitter by Elon Musk. And also, we're watching Twitter now, right? So we have all these Hollywood individuals and especially left-leaning politicians saying they're leaving Twitter and that, hey, this is dangerous now.
So it's dangerous that people will be more free and there's not going to be as much government censorship and frankly corporate censorship on their own.
Yeah, Aaron, having contrarian thoughts and opinions
is dangerous.
We know where
and they're flipping out because they know that they're going to lose some control.
That is the point. They're flipping out because they see how effective it's been in censoring conservative, contrarian ideas and or opinions that they know, oh no, this is not good. You know, because Aaron, the reality is we know that their philosophy, their opinions, and their way of doing business politically, and let's be frank, the way that they're running the country cannot hold up to those contrarian ideas and opinions and philosophies because they're illogical and they're driving us down this road of a failed economy and a world that just isn't going the right direction. You know, I mean, look at Ukraine, look at China. I mean, heck,
whoa,
yeah. I mean, look at what's happened in China. You know, it was the zero COVID lockdowns just recently. They were welding people's doors shut, and 10 people lost their lives because they couldn't get out from a fire.
Bro, I saw some footage today of these spike gates that they put down so people couldn't get out of their neighborhoods.
Well, I find it interesting, Aaron, that the White House is silent on all of that. And then I forget the New York Times columnist who just recently praised China in their use of lockdowns and their methods of quote unquote stamping out COVID, which they didn't. It's impossible. You know, ultimately, we are going down this rabbit hole. Ultimately, they would, in our country, those that are in charge in the elite, they would execute the same types of controls. That's why they're silent about it. So,
Well, I wasn't going to talk about this either, but Eric, today I saw footage that I believe was from last night of Fauci saying that it's still possible, depending on the virus load, quote, that we may have to shut some things down again.
never
Dude,
again. Man.
How can that dude say that shit with a straight face, knowing what this whole world knows now?
Well, and not only that, Aaron, he's back out saying that, hey, we figured out, or through the science, I'm putting words in his mouth on that. It's not
so he's through the science. What scientific studies is he quoting when he says that, dude?
So and again, I'll be careful. He didn't say the science in this sense. He essentially was saying that, yeah, we have an open mind to a lab leak, but we're seeing data that shows that it probably was natural and still from the food markets is where it was introduced naturally, which we know why he's saying that, because his agency, if this is proven, then this is not at all conspiracy, that his agency through carve-outs funded at least Wuhan, and it does appear that the virus somehow made it out of Wuhan. So, I mean, he's covering up his complicity, frankly. So, man, I'm tired of all. I'm glad we saved this to the end because it was such a good conversation. But, hopefully we didn't lose a lot of our audience members. Hopefully we at least, made some points that some folks can think about currently, because it had
you're talking about losing listeners this episode. We're not talking about losing for good.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, man, listen, I think we've done enough, man. I've had a lot of fun. We've had some good conversation, both on the positive side and some discussion on some frank issues that I've been thinking about the last couple of days, man. It's been fun, brother.
Always fun. Well, have a good night, and I will see you next week for another awesome guest.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Love you, man. Take care. Congrats on that blue belt, man. And
Thanks, buddy.
We got a wager going now.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna whoop your butt so we can go to Portland. Love you, bro.
I'm looking forward to Thailand.
Okay.
All right, bro. Take care.
Take it easy.